Billy Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life. Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Thank you.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the flame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted. Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Good evening and welcome back to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast, recorded live on YouTube. The King is dead, long live the King. As Neil Warnock hangs up his crown. Do you hang up a crown? I don't know. We get an introduction to the Darren Moore era. And after rattling away at us on WhatsApp, we sent our man Richard Kosmala to Coventry. Cosy packed up his prawn sandwiches, salmon and cream cheese bagels, and off he went schmoozing with the corpse down at the CBS Arena, whilst the rest of the town fans slummed it in the away end. Slumming it with myself, Matt Shaw, today is a return to the pod after a couple of seasons away. Frothing at the mouth, as always, it's Josh Quirke. Are you all right, Josh?
Yeah, not bad, but how are you? You all right?
Good, yeah, thanks. And we've got Kosi as well. Kosi, who enjoyed himself immensely, didn't you, down at the CBS? It is the CBS, isn't it? Coventry Building Site Arena in the corporate area. Bit of schmoozing for you, eh?
Yeah, funny. It says away fans are welcome, but please be respectful of home fans. And that all went out the window about 3 minutes to 10.
Fair enough. Right, guys, this episode, as always, is sponsored by the wonderful Magic Rock Brewing. As you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the ticker down at the bottom saying use the hour code of AHTTC10 for 10% off all online orders at www.magicrockbrewing.com. And you can head there on the home games as well. It's always decent, isn't it? If you head down on as make it part of your pre-match ritual. Right, so I think it might be a quick one tonight. So thanks to those who've joined us online. Not many yet. We'll stick the good word out on social media, Cousin. We might get a couple of people asking us questions because the agenda's maybe a little bit bare tonight. But Coventry 1, Huddersfield Town 1. The first half. Let's talk about the first half first. It reminded me a little bit of premium football, if you like, Fotheringham, just in that it was so passive, wasn't it? We just sat off, refused to engage, and it was quite a painful watch. I know Coventry, I think their league position belies how good they are, really, but it wasn't the best, was it? The first half, Josh, and the goal that they scored kind of came from our own undoing as well. Ben Jackson, a little bit of a misplaced pass, and Matty Pearson not going to pick up those, is he? And Ellis Sims, who's a player I've always quite liked, nicked it off him, hits an absolute rocket. It's a great save from Lee Nichols, and the looks with Coventry as it hits Ayari, hits his thigh, clips off the inside of his left arm and goes into the goal. It's handball for me, but there is not a linesman and referee alive who will be eagle-eyed enough to be able to spot that. So I'm quite forgiving of that. There's no chance anyone's got. It'll probably take 15 rolls of VAR to make a decision on that one. But it just kind of summed it up, didn't it, Josh? It was a tepid start, to say the least, and then 1-0 down to a goal which had an element of fortune to it, shall we say?
Yeah, it was just one of them, wasn't it, where you sort of watch a game and you're thinking, oh, not again. It's going to happen again. You know, we've got Warnock's gone, new manager. They only playing for Warnock. It one of them games where they sort of. I think we try to contain Cov a little bit, but in doing that, it were just a lot of lumps upfield all the time. And the two lads we had up there in Bergzog and Karoma, you're not getting out from them, so it was just coming back, and it were a fortunate goal, but I think they probably deserved it. They deserved it on the balance of the first half, didn't they? It wasn't. I think I messaged you at a point and said we just look horrid here. We can't string 2 or 3 passes together. It were just rushed football. They just panicked every time they got the ball. But it wasn't the ideal first half, was it?
No, Cozzy, you were there, weren't you? Just talk to us about Just talk to us about that first half. 0.07 XG. Sky said it was the worst of any half in the Championship this season. Tough watch, wasn't it? But we'll talk about the second half after. But the first half, we'll probably skim over it a little bit because there wasn't really an awful lot going on, was there?
No, but same old story this season, Matt. Not as lot's going on, so just get in with your 0-0 and regroup. But no, we have to make an individual error again. Been so many of them. I can't believe how naive Ben Jackson was. What were we trying to do? We were never going to bomb past that guy for pace. Ridiculous. That's kind of stuff you see in B team football or under 19s or what have you, and that as well. But yeah, obviously, his defence out high and dry, and that's what's so frustrating. But you know what? Fair play to the. I don't. It depends how you look at the goal. Depending what kind of a linesman, you can be mad at. The linesman did see it, like I said, no one. Linesman ain't going to see that, but. Big respect, really, because everyone's just thinking he must be offside. I think more the complaint was the offside rather than hitting the hand. I thought, and I mean, again, he can only be getting, I suppose. Well, let's give him some credit though. But for him not to call that as offside, I think that's pretty amazing. That, to be honest with you, mate. But
I think everyone was just shocked it were given, didn't they? Like it seemed like a muted celebration as well. He ground in it, really. I think everyone was just waiting for it to be called not given.
Yeah, he knew he'd handballed it because he was so guilty, wasn't he, when he ran away? He almost didn't celebrate, and then because it's his first ever goal, and you could just see, couldn't you? He knew he'd handballed that into the net, and like I say, it was good from the linesman in the first case because he's not offside. He's run off the shoulder, and Jonathan Hoggs kind of let him run off him. He's maybe either dropped too deep or not gone with his man either way. But when it comes back off the bar like that, such a thunderbolt, it's easy to just kind of stop and watch, isn't it? And then it's just hit him, hasn't it? Because and maybe it's luck they deserve because they did boss the first half, didn't they? Yeah,
they were better than us. But I did a kind of a preview with the Coventry guys Sunday night, and they said it'd be cage, it'd be poor. They were predicting 1-0 wins, and they nearly got it right, didn't they? But so I think their expectations are pretty low at the moment as well. And obviously, doing the corporate and stuff, you get kind of people coming in and giving opinions and stuff. And they were a legend. I don't know, a bit rude here. I didn't know his name, but he was saying, yeah, we take a 1-0 and we've got there's 6 new players signed. And yeah, the kind of the vibe I got there was like it's obviously like the best 2 players ripped away, and it's kind of starting from scratch really for Coventry. But like I said, Matt, I think they are probably better than the position suggests. But that's what hurts me, and it really does annoy me that. But I guess that's why we are where we are. Bottom third of the table, but. Just don't make a mistake. If you can't do all good, don't make a mistake. Let's get in as a 0-0. Obviously, good teams can do that, and then you kind of pull away, when the quality comes back. But yeah, we've always got a mistake in us this year. It was so frustrating, really. And like I say, Nichols, we'll talk about that second save later on, but incredible acrobatics, really, to get an hand. And must be gutting, Matt. I mean, obviously, you were a keeper at some point in your football career, but when you've done something as brilliant as that and it don't count for anything, it must be an absolute. Oh, you must be
it's a bit of a kick. It's almost like a double kick in the teeth because you pull off a save like that, and then by the time before you've even managed to pull yourself off the floor, it's in the back of the net because technically it's maybe a defensive error, or one of your guys has maybe let him down, or the referee's let you down, and you just feel a little bit annoyed at the world. Then that's why goalkeepers are so angry, aren't they? Because everything, it's everybody's fault, but theirs. And to be fair to Lee Nichols, it was everyone's fault, but his, wasn't it?
When he sat on the floor watching it roll into the side of net, that you feel for him.
Yeah. But again, I think we all wanted something to go up, whether it's a flag or referee spotting anything. We're just incredible. And then your party thinks, well, VAR. But then, oh no, we don't have that in our league. And obviously, we don't need to go on about VAR with town fans and stuff. But yeah, it was just so frustrating that. Yeah, just let's get into 0-0. Tell you what, funny before the game when Darren Moore, he the game was just about to start. Darren Moore come halfway on the pitch right up to the away end and clapping the other two fans. I thought it was quite funny that. So we had to wait till he walked off to get the game going. But I don't think anyone's going to argue with Darren Moore. But yeah, I thought
do it like Sky, massive.
Yeah, I thought that was good. That was a nice thing with that, mate. Just a little thing, really. But yeah, he come right over and stuff. But he came not just stay on the side of it. He came right on the pitch and clapping for a bit. So no, good to see him making friends with the away fans.
Yeah, On Smoke says if Koroma had more composure, we could have scored in that first half. And that's probably quite a forgettable moment, isn't it? That it is true. Ben Wiles played. I mean, we managed to get a break, didn't we? And Ben Wiles played in Koroma, and it was. I think the pass probably could have done with being slightly harder, but even then he's played Koroma in, and Koroma's kind of dallied. He didn't have the best game, did he, Josh Quirke, to be honest?
Oh,
And
nice.
I've seen people. Yeah, he's just one of those players. Sometimes he's unplayable, and then sometimes he just kind of. There's a lot of accusations about him maybe being half-hearted or something, which I'm sure is not true. It's just how it comes across, isn't it? But it's just one of those games where it just didn't work. And I think, to be honest, I think yesterday was essentially one of those games where us failing to sign a striker was really evident as well. We struggled, Bergzorg and Karoma wanted to be out of the box rather than inside it, didn't they? And we've only really got Kean Harrott who wants to be inside the box, and he's probably a little bit green around the chops, isn't he? Decent, but green around the chops. But I think it was one of those. First half, we struggled, didn't we, to get out, and it was because we really lacked that focal point up front. The real sort of genuine number 9, just to turn back into defenders and bring others in. And I think that's one game where I've kind of seen it now and gone, actually, do you know what? We could perhaps have done with a striker there. I'm not too sure what you guys thought, but
Karoma's frustrating, man. And the one thing I just remember David Attrick with the microphone in the summer pod that we did, mate. Just saying, look, because obviously we didn't think we were going to re-sign him, and he want to ask to be honest. We're just saying, look, for what he'd be wanting and for what he gives you, he's one of those guys, kind of, when he's comfortable, then like when he's got a new contract or whatever, it's hauntingly. I don't want to kind of bag him straight away, but it's kind of panning out a bit that way so far, mate. I thought we were tepid, poor, and didn't really chase anyone, put any pressure. I mean, we've said it before about kind of his body language stuff. That's just his style, really, and that as well. He's never gonna, kind of endear people to fans like Kean Harrott kind of charge around and what have you and that as well. But I just wanted to see a bit more from him, to be honest, mate. And yeah, frustrating, really. And Bergzorg, yeah, just offering nothing. But like I said, that's okay. It is what it is. Let's get through to 0-0. But no, we always have to make a mistake. And Ben Jackson did that.
Yeah, I'm very surprised online that there's people saying it wasn't handball. Daz says wasn't handball. Sky showed a zoomed in shot and you could tell it wasn't. I mean, Sky showed it zoomed in and you could tell 100% it was, in my opinion. It definitely clips the inside of his left elbow. You can actually see the ball deviate in 2 different directions. It hits his thigh, moves away, then clips his elbow and goes forward. I just found it stunning that Lee Hendry was sat there going, "Oh no, it's not his hand. That's not handball." I thought Lee Hendry was really sort of painful last night.
I didn't think it was, Matt. I didn't think it was an handball.
Oh mate, it was. I'm 100% convinced that, and to be honest, it did take me having it on my PC, sort of like moving it back and forward to see it. But you can definitely see it hit his arm, and it's 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I don't feel Leeds fans saying that, Matt. So if you're getting that from them, then you know it is, don't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, they usually take any opportunity to have a jump in, don't they? But yeah, Mark Harrison says we were timid and showing too much respect to the opposition in the first half and played too deep. Played 15 meters higher in the second half. So much better. Yeah. So let's come to the second half because that's so much more fun. There's a lot to like.
Sorry, before the first half, question to you. Did you think, obviously, this is new manager continuing what we left off on Wednesday night, and I thought we were poor against Stoke. Did you expect different kind of a different formation, a different team, a different fire in the bellies, or were you quite shocked how timid it was?
No, I think I was going to speak about this at the end, but Darren Moore mentioned that in his post-match interview that they'd fed a lot of information over the last 2 days to the players, and it was a little bit information overload. And I think maybe they were a little bit rabbit in the headlights, caught between 2 methodologies, maybe. And some people do, like David Wagner came in and threw a lot at them straight away, but he had that international break, didn't he? So it's probably not comparable. But yeah, I expected 3-5-2 because I think that suits us best. I think Darren Moore's he was a 3-5-2 guy at Sheff Wednesday, or 3-4-1-2, wasn't he? So for me, it was the right system. I thought he picked the right system. I think the passive football was maybe just a lot of information taken on in the last few days, and maybe a couple of players just caught in the headlights. And let's be fair, Coventry, if they have the ball, can be very good as well. So it's probably easy to drop deeper. But to credit Darren Moore, whatever he said at half times had a good effect, hasn't it? So we came out, like Mark said online, we played 15 meters higher, and for sure we definitely looked better, didn't we?
Yeah, with chalk and cheese, wasn't it? First half to second half. I mean, he sort of looked like he pushed both wing backs, like say 15 meters up pitch. It was very much just sort of we just looked braver. We looked braver on ball. It's looked like we went out there and instead of just looking forward straight away, we'll try and take us time and try and build a little bit, find a bit of space. Rudoni then came into the game a lot more. I'd had time on ball, and then the game just changed, didn't it? It was like that. We're like watching two different teams.
Cos?
Yeah, it was good to see, mate, and we didn't kind of batter them, but we kind of gradually were winning a bit of an arm wrestle against them and that as well. I thought the substitutions were good. I mean, there were a few Town fans, to be fair, in the corporate, and we were chatting, and I said, look, I don't think it's Darren Moore's style to bring on subs, because I remember mentioning to you, Matt, I think if Warnock could have been there, you know, and then again, you were interested in like listening to the other podcast the other day, which I think is a fair point, where the subs on Wednesday were almost like, well, I'm going anyway, so fuck it, like, let's just sling 3 on or what have you. Where Darren Moore, it's almost like it looked bad, wouldn't it, if you like, with making 3 subs and, you know, getting off to it's not really his style, is it? Kind of, I don't think so. I didn't expect much to change quick, but Sorba Thomas, I know, love him or hate him, and Gordon Bennett, the opinion is so divided still on him. He just makes a big difference, really, as well. And yeah, they did.
Yeah, well, we've got him to chat about, haven't we? A little bit deeper down, mate. But let's start with just talking about Nakayama, because he's someone who's had to bide his time, hasn't he? He's not played a lot. We don't really have he's played quite a lot in the B team, but obviously B team's not exactly 90 minutes of blood and guts, is it? And Kosi will talk about the Bs a bit later on. But he's come back in after almost a year out, and I think at times he can get ragdolled a little bit in the penalty box. You know, when we're defending set pieces, you go back to Mark Fotheringham chewing him out, don't you, for the Rotherham goal last year? But there were a couple of times I just sort of saw him getting pushed around a little bit, and you were thinking it's going to be interesting if it's towards Nakayama. But there were bits of what he did were really excellent. The intelligence he shows in his clearing headers is really good. You can see when the ball comes up, there's a lot of headers, there's a lot of defenders who'll just head it, if you know what I mean. Well, whereas Nakayama strategically places, you know, where the ball's going, which I think is quite smart. And there was one moment in the second half where there was a direct ball. I think it was Michal Helik played a direct ball out to the left-hand side, and Nakayama got forward and he did this really sort of excellent back header out to I think it was Headley at that point on the left-hand side, and there were just some really smart bits of play from him, and I just thought, yeah, this is the defender that we thought we were getting a year ago, and we thought we were getting this Japanese international centre back, as Mike Fotheringham famously called him, and it was good for me, mate. I thought it was good, and it's good to see a defender with intelligence. And you've got Dave Hart, to speak of Dave Hartrick as well, because he always says you need a daisy and a dolly. I don't know which is which when talking about centre backs, but you know, you've got your Michal Helik, who's a bit of everything. You got Pearson, who's a brick wall, really, isn't he? And everything about him is just solid. And then you've got Nakayama, who can do differently on the other side, who can bring the ball out and he can pass the ball. And there was just quite a nice balance there. I know there's not a lot of pace between them all, but it's not terrible. But there's just a really nice balance to it, Josh. And I thought Nakayama added something. I'm not going to say an extra dimension exactly, but I thought he was really impressive, especially when he brought the ball out of defence.
Yeah, I thought he had a good game, to be fair. I think defensively we were good. But yeah, it just gives you that option, especially second half when you saw him, when he sort of went a bit wider and pushed more into midfield, because he's very comfortable on ball. It just allows him to push forward, just so we're further up the pitch. You know what I mean? He usually finds a man with a pass, comfortable on the ball. Like you said, Pearson isn't particularly. He's there just to get rid of it. So you need to have one of them 3 centre halves who's comfortable on ball, just to give you that option of a bit of an out ball instead of just whacking it long all the time. So I think he's done well when he's come back. I don't think he was too bad against Stoke either. So I think he's useful to have it team.
Cos, what did he look like up from the corpse through the sandwiches and the pims and what have you?
Yeah, it looked. I think Josh says there. I think picking that pass, I thought his passing were horrendous in the first half, and looked like some of them never played football before. But it's like I thought a little bit last night we were a bit more. Let's try and keep it on the floor rather than kind of big punts somehow. Like, there was still 1 or 2 for my liking, like crossfield passes that were going out for throw-ins and stuff like that as well. But you know what? There's a problem brewing, I think, because Tom Lees is going to be fit and ready, and might even be fit and ready now. And who's going to move? Or is Tom Lees going to have to bide his time on the bench and that as well? Because I don't know. For me, Tom Lees is gets in my starting lineup and at the expense of maybe Nakayama. So I'm as I thought he played all right, but for me, Lees would be in. And but is there a place for Yuta Nakayama? Then after that, it's really awkward because we never saw him for so much, did we? Obviously last season, and he's got his qualities and stuff. Darren Moore might see him in a different role, but yeah, it's an interesting one. And yeah, I thought Sakamoto as well. It was a kind of night for the Japanese, but I thought it was fantastic for Coventry. Him, mate. Yeah, I wish we could have him. He looks a player, mate.
Yeah, I thought it was all right. I thought there was a lot of effort, but not masses of end quality with him, really. I thought Jaheim Headley did quite well first 10, 15 minutes, and then he sort of struggled. But I thought Headley was great second half. I thought, well, not great, but I thought it was decent second half, and he really pushed forward and got to grips with him. I was a bit surprised, actually, when it was him who went off instead of Ben Jackson for Sorba Thomas. But I suppose Ben Jackson's a bit, I think Headley's coming back, isn't he, from missing quite a few games. But let's talk about Jack Rudoni as well. For me, he was probably. It's difficult to give him man of the match because Hellick was decent at the back and he popped up with the goal at the end. But Jack Rudoni, for me, not everything works for him in terms of what he tries, but he keeps trying. And I thought he really grabbed the game. I wouldn't say he grabbed it by the scruff of the neck and dictated it, but his drive was so constant. And then I think by the last sort of half an hour, he'd almost worn Coventry down through his forward running, his hard work. And I thought Rudoni was really good second half. I thought some of the comments about him were a bit off, if you like, that said he didn't play well. I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. I know there are moments whereby that final pass lets him down or the final shot lets him down, which he's improving slightly. But I thought in terms of midfield play, in putting himself around and driving us forward, I thought Rudoni was really good in that second half. And I think he's really sort of developing at the moment. It's just that final third, isn't it? When he gets that shooting opportunity, we need more West Brom away and less last season. We don't need we really. But again, for me, I'm singing his praises quite a lot this season, and I thought that was another good performance from Jack Rudoni, Josh.
Yeah, I think he's just growing into the role more, isn't he? Like you say, just needs to get his finishing. Just needs to get that there a bit more. He had that one at the edge of the box, didn't he? Where he could hit it anywhere apart from where he hit it, and keeper's going to have a problem. But I think everything that we did well in second half really came through Rudoni. He was involved in some way, shape, or form. Just because, like you say, he wants to get on the ball all the time. It might not always work, but he wants to get on the football. He wants to try and make something work. He's all around the pitch. He's got a nice little nice little 1-2 balls with Wiles at times. I don't think Wiles had the best game, but if them two can sort of get a little bit of a partnership, it's something that we can look forward to as fans, especially if we're playing the sort of football we tried to play second half because it was on the floor, it was quick, and we were moving it around. And I think that's where you're probably going to get the best out of him.
What about you, Kosi?
Yeah, I'm obviously a big fan of his. Matt, I didn't think it was his game so far this season, but I thought he did enough to always have them on the back foot as well. I mean, I don't know whether we're going to come on to the inverted commas penalty, but
yeah, it's a good time to mention it. See what people think online.
I thought it was one and didn't at the time for my up, but seeing it back, but again, I think it's similar to the goal that they scored and the linesman, could spot the hand. But I think it was an hard one to spot that, mate. But
yeah,
I'm thinking
50-50, wasn't it?
Yeah, if that goes to Premier League VAR, I suppose you never know these days. But I think the old baldy Dermot Gallagher's on Monday morning on Sky Sports News saying that should have been a penalty.
Do you think he's caught him? Do you think he's caught him at all? Or do you think
that there's no doubt that, and if I were a referee, I'd be the same. But exaggerated fall, it'd just make me turn it off. That I know it's human nature just to think, oh, you dive in. Yeah, but to be fair though, Josh, if I'd have been a Coventry fan or to say that,
I'd be fuming if it were given. Yeah.
So maybe I'm clutching a bit, but I don't know. It's the replay makes it more of a penalty than you do on the naked eye. I'll give you that. What do you think, Matt?
I thought no. I think if you're going to win a penalty, you've got to properly foul someone. I thought, to be honest, there's
heads off and legs off.
I want someone's head taken off for a penalty in that jeopardy. But no, it's when he goes to initially his first turn, he goes past one man who swings at him, and there's a connection, and he stays on his feet. I think if he goes down from the first one, it's a stonewall penalty. But the second one, I think he's just. I don't really think it's Binks, isn't it, the defender? Who I think they just sort of come together. I don't think he fouls him, and Rudoni kind of almost falls over his own feet in some kind of way. Maybe he's off balance from riding the first challenge, but no, not for me. The second one, I think the yellow card was wrong as well by the referee. I don't think it was a foul. I don't think it was a penalty, but I don't think he dived either. I think it was just, I think he was off balance from the first challenge, which would have been a penalty had he gone down. It's weird, isn't it, that you have to go down to get a penalty, and that's kind of frustrating that encourages the diving, doesn't it? But
the Diarra this year, bloody hell, just like we should have had one. I want Stoke. Which game? What it Stoke game? I think it was, wasn't it, when it should have gone down? But you're right, mate. You're right. I just think, to be fair, mate, away from home as well, you're less likely to get it than you would even from the south stand.
I'd love to sit here and say we were hard done by, but nah, we weren't really, were we? So the interestingly, the Coventry goal handball. How are people saying no to the Coventry handball? I'm stunned. Daz is giving me hammer online, but there's
I was
40, it's like 50-50. It's like 53-47.
Yeah.
But honestly, to be fair, I did have to do it slowly. And the one Daz is on about, this probably doesn't make great listening for people who listen to this, but you have to kind of like slow it down and play it there forward and back, and you can just see the double movement. It's about rugby league, isn't it? But you can just see the double movement when it comes off his arm if you slow it and replay it. But people don't have time for that stuff, do
they? They're thinking offside rather than handball. Don't you think?
No, I don't think so.
You're going like that. I didn't see the replay of it.
The players definitely were claiming handball.
The players were claiming offside,
sorry, players were claiming offside.
Yeah,
definitely. That no one would claim, because it's the way his body was. There's no way a linesman. We've done it to death, but there's no way. For me, there's no way it's they can see that. And again, I don't think you can probably see the Rudoni one either. Bringing it back to the point, it's just there's like a lot of legs in there, and I don't think Binks makes an obvious dive towards him to warrant anything. So for me, it's no. I've put a poll out on YouTube at the moment, and I don't think there's a lot of votes, but there's 33% say yes, 67% say no. So that's a bit more conclusive than the handball, but not had a lot of votes yet. Watch that swing. But so let's talk about the moment which perhaps the game hinged on, and the result was a ball from the right-hand side for Coventry towards the end. A shot from, I can't remember who it was in midfield, but the save from Lee Nichols, which initially I just thought was kind of straight at him, but good positioning. But when you watch the replay back, he gets his left arm out brilliantly to make that save. And then it spoons to Haji Wright, who cost a lot of money in the summer. And I thought he was offside at first. So if he'd have scored, it wouldn't have mattered. But I didn't realise up on the far side, it's Ben Jackson. I think it's Ben Jackson, the left wing back's playing him on. But it was just that from the angle they showed on Sky, it cut it off. So he's actually onside. So it would have been a goal. And it's a bad miss. Shades of Gareth Taylor in '95, Cosy, if you remember that one. It was an absolute shocker, wasn't it, for a guy who's a full international? Looked like Isaac Light, didn't he? The Newcastle striker, a little bit in the way he moved. But yeah, that's a stinker. But that's a hell of a save from Lee Nichols.
Oh, I had a right view of it, mate. I was at that side of the ground. It was just sensational. But you know what? Part of me thought, brilliant today, but doesn't really matter. We've lost 1-0, and wow, it gained us a point. Who knows how big that point could be? But it's great to see, Matt, innit? The great man, Lee Nichols. A few uncharacteristic errors in the games earlier on, just back to his level best. And the one thing I was going to mention the goal in a minute, but I love that celebration. That guy gives a shit, man. This isn't a guy who might have moved to the Premier League or what have you, and that as well. And I'm going to sulk. No, he wants to win, mate, and or at least get some points. So it was sensational, mate. And people sat around me, Coventry as well, and like, can you believe that? But obviously castigating the rebound.
If you're a Cov fan, you can't look beyond that miss, can you? That will just absolutely eat away at you, wouldn't it? It's a shocker. We've absolutely been let off the hook there, haven't we? Let's be honest. It's a shitter. It really is, Josh. Isn't it?
It's one of them, isn't it? It's like it probably came to him quickly, but when you've paid £7 million for a striker, you want him to react and put that in net, don't you? It's one of them, but
it's be on ice, isn't it?
Bad.
Into that.
Yeah, it was bad. It wasn't good.
It was good for us, wasn't it?
No, it was great for us. But
great for us. Lee Nichols, brilliant. Well done, Lee. He's back. He played well against Stoke, didn't he? So hopefully Lee Nichols is back now. He's got another goalkeeper coach. He's third since the summer. So Adriano Basso has come in and his new keeper coach. So.
Two away games. He's made last minute saves and all, and we've gone on to win
Yeah,
points.
you mentioned that, didn't you, mate? The West Brom one was really key as well. So good to see Lee Nichols back, isn't it? And
we just looked like we're fizzling out. There were nothing. We didn't really get much forward in the last 5, 6, 7 minutes. And come on, Matt, talk to me about goal, because at the first I'm thinking it's a bit of a scramble. It's a bloody good goal from us. There's so much to love about it. But go on, Matt, you kick it in.
Oh, there's a long ball forward, isn't it? And it's straight to Jurassic Kyle, and he brings it down. It's honestly, it's fantastic.
Good play by Hildred, isn't it? Great
Yeah.
play.
It's classic 90s centre forward play. Brings it down, plays it out wide, really sharp. Sorba Thomas, who we'll talk about at the end, puts the ball in cos, and you can pick up the story.
Oh, mate, Kianara, obviously a big part of his fan club. Absolute diamond, mate. Because if most people would have been asked, it's like 94 minutes. All right, he's on. I'd have just stayed in the box, see if it comes across. But no, Kianara, again, like he loves making that near post run, doesn't it? Obviously, we saw it to great effect at Watford last year when he scored. But he wipes two people out, and they doubt him, which kind of leaves Helic there. Obviously, thinking, what the is he doing there? And mate, it was like horrendous because I was at the other side, and when he I'm getting slagged off about X or Twitter because I said he just swung his boot at it, and they would say it was like a thing of beauty, but the world stood still. I'm thinking, is it going in here? Because it just seemed to take forever, and then
I thought it got wide.
And I know there weren't many Tom fans, but they went absolutely wild, mate. They were running at that divide and like, and then I was banging on these adverts like, come on, and I'm thinking, well, if you're going to get thrown out of corporate, you might as well do it after you've had a 3-course meal. But it was brilliant, and there was so much good. Hudlin, though, brilliant. I mean, he didn't get much of a touch of ball, but again, like what we've been saying before, people don't know what to do with him, and they backed off, and they were like, oh my God, and you could hear the crowd thinking, what's this? And honestly, everyone played a part. It was so good. Thomas, great. Oh, when he first in emotion of it, you're thinking, oh yeah, good cross, a bit of an hopeful crossing and hope for them. But there were a lot going on there, and everyone played the part in a brilliant goal. And Mikel Helic, what's a legend, mate.
I tell you what I liked about Hudlin,
Josh.
Yeah, it was a great finish. Tell you what I liked about Hudlin as well. He laid that ball off, but if you look at the view as it's pulled out after Helic scored it, the man right behind him in box is Hudlin.
Yeah.
So he's not just laid the ball off, let the play go on. He sprinted in box to try and get an end of it. So if Helic don't get there, he's got half a chance, which I thought was good. But yeah, it's a great finish by Helic. Just a little guided finish into the top corner. It was a beauty.
Well, Darren Moore mentioned it in the post-match, which makes me think Hudlin's going to get more game time, more chances. But he said Hudlin came on and caused him. He says I can't remember what the exact word is, something like disarray or something, and just like they didn't know what to think. So
chaos, isn't it? He adds chaos.
I think, chaos. That was it. I think it was. But he does
chaos factor. Yeah.
But he's
chaos factor Hudlin. That's his.
Every time he's played, whether in that pre-match game and Stockport and the other ones, it's like he's always done something. And obviously, the Heerenveen game, people laugh at him, but his contribution to game minutes is pretty sick, to be honest, as the young ones say.
He's sick.
I wonder if people underestimate how decent he is at ball. With ball to feet.
Because the first thing he did was that turn.
The first thing he did was that turn in box, wasn't it? Yeah, I think people just look at him and go head on a stick, so he can put ball into his feet. It don't matter, but he's actually pretty decent with ball at his feet.
I love watching celebrations and all. I like to read and stuff. Maybe some stuff that shouldn't. And Keane were doing a massive run and a knee slide. I'm thinking, why? What a kind of a view had to do with that goal? But when you look back, he played such a massive part in that goal by his clever run, and he just brilliant, mate. And again, everyone as a team, all there, apart from Nichols, like celebrating. And he just, I think you put a good tweet last night, Matt. You mentioned something like the Warnock. What did you say? The Warnock spirit is still there. It is. And Helen mentioned in the post-match interview about Warnock and just that fight till the end mentality. It's there's nothing better as a fan, is there, to see your team keep fighting till the end, which we lost it totally for like 6 months last season under Fotherington and Schofield, but we got it back, and it's a beautiful thing. It is. You felt like a win, didn't it? Let's be fair.
I think someone said Darren Moore's last 3 games, he's had 3 90th minute goals. Peterborough, Barnsley final, and then today. So obviously he likes it them all.
It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And just for all them that made the journey, and there was there's a lot being said out there today on some of social media sites about away followings and what have you. But those people that come and 2.5 hours it was to get down, and that's why you do it. That is why you do it, man. I just don't know one left in. Please, no one did. No one come and message us now and say I've gone. Yeah.
Oh mate, I hate that account that does it. It always slags off everyone's away following the away days thing. It's absolute bell. I think he's a Sunderland fan, and it's just one of those.
He's a Coventry fan.
It's just the away day fan. There's one that's thanks run by a Sunderland fan, and it's just an absolute knobhead who just like come on a skateboard. They all crap cliches, and without taking into account it's a rearranged game from Saturday. You know, you don't have that long turnaround. You got to take time off work. You don't have fans, you know, in Coventry necessarily, apart from Dan Peckett, who can go to the game and do stuff. It's a big, and then when it's on TV as well, people just go, fuck it, I'll watch it on TV. Do you know what I mean? And it's very easy for people like me to sort of sit there and go, do you know what? I'm working till 7. I don't need to take time off. I can just watch it on TV. Whereas people who are dedicated to the cause of the prawn sandwich, like Kosi, who've gone down and watched, you know, driven down, watched the game, and you know, completely different. Fair play to everybody who's gone down. Although I reckon there were about 300 there, but it'd probably been 301 if Kosi had gone in the away.
Yeah.
I reckon.
That video, you were like a Welsh choir, because that video part where they're singing Huddersfield, it sounds like there's about 5,000 there. It's loud. Some of the loud. It's almost like the 300 there. Every single person, even Margaret, were like, oh, sorry, Maureen.
Yeah, Maureen. Love.
Andy's wild. Honestly, mate, you know when there's just sticks and that, mate. He's unbelievable, isn't he? With his scarf and his stick and his whistling.
Right.
And yeah, some real. But what a finish at the end. And listen, this is even funnier. So I went out Mum and Dad's night for tea, and they were like, "Oh, bad result last night." And I'm like, I was getting all. I'm thinking, "Do you mean first game and he's lost?" They're like, "We've got a draw." What? So they went on Sofa. My mum went on her app, like, "That's dad, what?"
Your mum on Sofa. Looking at XG.
Yeah, bonus point at about 5:30 tonight in Etman for Mr. and Mrs. Cosmala. Happy days.
Brilliant. Right, you've heard what we've had to say, so let's hear the view from Coventry. So it's one thing scoring a last-minute goal to get something. It's another thing conceding right at the death, isn't it? So here's Glenn from Sky Blues Fan TV, who gave his thoughts from the Coventry side.
Hi, my name's Glenn and I run the Twitter account, the Sky Blue Hub. I've been asking my thoughts on yesterday's game between Coventry City and Huddersfield. Overall, I didn't think it was a great game of football. I thought it was pretty much lacking in quality a lot of the time. I thought the game was kind of decided, what was going to be decided, because I thought we were going to win, but by a bit of magic from Ellis Sims, who turned a nothing ball into a something ball. Then it hits a cracking shot that I'm not sure if Nichols tipped onto the bar or not. And then the rebound kind of just hit Ayari. Don't know whether it hit his chest, his arms or whatever. And yeah, it was a bit of a weird goal. But yeah, I thought we dominated the first half, played all right without really looking that we had the flow that we had last season. But we're quite short in midfield with obviously Casey Palmer being injured. We haven't got Callum O'Hare. Obviously, Gus Hamer's left. We've lost Gyökeres. And we're still just trying to find our feet at the moment. I thought second half, Huddersfield came into it. I kind of expected what was going to happen. I thought Hudlin was going to come on at some point. And yeah, you'd go a bit more direct. Sorba Thomas came on and did really well. I thought Rudoni started to get into the game a bit more as well. Just really disappointed in the goal that we conceded. On balance of play, looking at the stats, probably Huddersfield deserved a point. But yeah, when you've had the keeper make a wonder save from Matty Godden and then your record signings skied it over from 2 yards away, yeah, and then to give it pretty much away with the last kick of the game, a draw, is really, really disappointing. But it's the way things are going for us at the moment. I think every mistake seems to be compounded by another mistake and then another mistake. When you go back and dissect the goal, there's about 4 or 5 individual errors that are made. But yeah, I think Huddersfield, on balance of play, looking at it, probably deserved the the draw. I think it's just the manner of it, it's the more galling for the Cov fans. And yeah, that's unfortunately only one win in the last 7 games. So yeah, Robins is starting to get, unfortunately, the doubters asking questions, and yeah, we just don't seem to be able to see games out like we did last season, and almost we've flipped it now, where we used to be a side that had finished games well, and the Robins time late goals, now we tend to seem to stumble over the line and be architects of our own downfall. So yeah, it'll make Saturday at QPR a must-win game, really. And realistically, if we've got any ambitions of being in the mix in the top 6, we've got to kick on and win probably 2 out of the next 3 games. But we've got Blackburn and Norwich in that mix. In terms of Huddersfield, I think you'll get better. You've got some good players. Probably look short, maybe a bit in the forward areas. But yeah, you looked a good, solid team. Hellick always impresses me. Nichols is a very, very good Championship goalkeeper. It probably could pay higher. Karoma, I always think he's good on the break. Rudoni is always someone that Cov fans in general have liked. And obviously, you've got Sorba Thomas. You can bring him off the bench. If he gets his act together, he's a real good asset at this level. So I don't think you're the worst team in the league. But yeah, it's probably going to be bottom 6, and you're in a mini league to finish top of the bottom 6.
There we go. You can hear the anguish almost still, can't you, in Glenn's voices still. And that's the other side of the coin, isn't it? That's football, isn't it? You've got us, we're quite happy and chirpy. But I can guarantee we'd all sound like Glenn a little bit there, wouldn't we, if it was us conceding the 94th minute goal. I don't think you'd be on here, Josh, would you? You'd be like, you'd be in your bedroom crying under your quilt, reading Harry Potter or something. You'd be absolutely, you know, it's just football. The emotions football gives you. Fantastic. Let's talk Sorba Thomas.
Sorry, Matt.
I thought you were jump in there.
Yeah, just
Go on, mate.
the really snippets. I did a similar one for Stoke and got a backfired on them because I thought they looked really good against us. So I suppose your season will kick on from now. So yeah, when I saw they were 2-0 down and going to all on Sunday dinner time, I thought they caused my predictions to again. But he called everything right, didn't he? Really, that I think we did probably deserve the point. He is right about us kind of as key players, and Hellick, it's interesting. He's a standout, and I know you kind of poo-pooed me on, maybe getting a move or because he's 31, but I think Hellick.
No, 28. 28.
I think Hellick's turning a few heads and just shows, doesn't it? Just
I think so.
a random play, but you've got to be pretty know your division to know a lot of Huddersfield players, isn't it? Because we're not really a top team that much on Sky. So fair play to him, mate. They were really good. I think they're really good at them little away fans kind of assessments raw after the game. So let's hope we're getting on Saturday saying, God, it's the second defeat against us. I couldn't believe it. Come on.
Well, I tell you, mate, you've teed me up nicely there because you don't get much rawer than the away day log. So if you want to do the away day log, please get in touch with me because we've had the same person do it again this time. And it's Josh Phillips again who went to the CBS Arena. And this is how Josh's day unfolded.
Good evening, town fans, from inside the CBS Arena. Just under 40 minutes to go till kick-off. We're here in the concourse having a beer with the town fans. Got here about an hour and a half ago. It's stadium, obviously it's a bit in the middle of nowhere, so it's not the best for an away day, but they've got a little bit of a fan zone going on outside, so it's not too bad. You can get a drink there. Team news just come out. Presumably it's 3-5-2 with I think it's going to be Ben Jackson right wing back, which I personally wouldn't go with that, but I hope I'm proved wrong. Bit of I think everyone's thinking the same really. First game under Darren Moore, we're not sure what to expect, how the players are going to react. Here's hoping they put in a good performance and we can get something. Half time at the CBS Arena, Town 1-0 down, dubious goal. I'm with my good friend James Taylor. Before I bring you in, don't be fooled by his accent. He's not a Coventry fan. Huddersfield Town is his second team. He's a Wolves fan, but Huddersfield Town, it's close to your heart, isn't it? It's fair to say.
Oh yeah, very much.
Yeah. And what's your thoughts on the first half?
Oh, it's been poor. It's been poor. Void of any real quality from both teams, I'd say. I think when Coventry attack, they look better, but anything that's gone in the box has been handled quite easily by the 3 defenders. There's nothing apart from the goal. There was no real.
Very dubious goal.
Yeah. I think it's handball.
It's clear handball.
Onside, but handball.
The fella didn't even celebrate.
No.
He thinks it's going to get him the free kick.
Yeah, it was definitely handball from where we were viewing it. But apart from that, Town don't look.
We've offered nothing, have we?
No, they don't look an attacking threat whatsoever.
It's been our, I'd say, worst half of the season from what I've
It's
seen.
the first time I've seen it. Our first game.
Yeah, not good. What do you think we need to do in the second half to improve it?
Is the transfer window closed? No, I think Matty Pearson's been quite solid, but going forward, they just need to be a bit closer together, like they're on the same team. There's not really much.
I think the issue with for the goal, Jackson playing right back, no right foot, he had to turn back on his left, gave it away. For me, I'd like to see Thomas come on at right wing back.
Yeah, just someone with some attacking intent, I think.
Yeah, but we'll see. Things can change. Let's hope they do. Get in there! 94th minute! I don't know who scored! I don't care! Get in! Well, we're stuck in traffic getting out the car park, but I couldn't care less. 94th minute equaliser. Wow. Sum that one up.
That was brilliant. I didn't see it coming, didn't see who scored, but...
Hellick, I think. I felt like we deserved a point.
Second half, totally different team.
Yeah.
Totally different second half. Actually playing a bit of football, changing it up with the long balls, and Sorba made a difference when he came on.
Yep.
Actually looked with a bit of intent.
Yep.
And looked a different team. Coventry didn't really do much.
I thought from minute 45 to about 70 we looked likely to equalise, but then it felt to me like they were happy to just hang on for 1-0, and I thought they were going to get it.
Well, yeah, obviously. To the last second. I mean, it should have been last kick of the game.
Yeah.
It was literally that late, but then they got a corner after that.
Yeah. Positive signs though that Darren Moore was able to get a tune out of him second half. He obviously said something at half
and there was that save from the keeper, Nichols, from point blank range. Don't know how he saved it, but and again, if that goes in, it changes the game, doesn't it?
And this guy the rebound, which may have been offside, but
great point.
Great moment in Darren Moore's first game, and that's something to build on.
Yeah.
And onwards and up as we go, up the town.
There you go. The contrasted emotions, Cosy, is what I was saying there from Josh Grealish and co. Yeah. So let's talk about Sorba Thomas. We started to a moment ago and then we went off it, didn't we? But he's had a strange old season so far, hasn't he? He's up and down. I'm thinking of an analogy, but none of them are suitable. He's very sort of up and down this season, isn't he? He's, against Stoke, he had a bit of a stinker. Got an assist, didn't he? But a bit of a stinker by all accounts is the general consensus. And then he comes on with a point to prove to the new manager against Coventry and really took that right wing back slot and drove Coventry backwards. And there's a number of, I think, couple of years ago, I think we looked at Sorba Thomas as solely a dead ball specialist, really. But all of a sudden, this season, he's putting a number of really good balls into the box in open play as well now. And there's a lot of threatening balls, and obviously he's the one who puts the ball in the box for the goal as well. It is an interesting season. I think he started okay with Fotheringham, fell out very quickly, fell out very badly, I think. And I think similar was happening with Warnock, where they started off great, where he was telling lots of Sorba Thomas stories, and then it seemed to maybe sour a little bit. And now he's got another manager, Darren Moore, and maybe Darren Moore might be better for him. Do you think Darren Moore seems more of a? And maybe I'm completely wrong on this, but I'm always led to believe Darren Moore's an excellent man manager. He can be very cuddly when he needs to be. Put your arm around. Sorba for me is a player that needs an arm around him and telling him how great he is, despite it probably being really annoying when he's very cocky around the place. But I don't think sort of any negativity helps him. If you tell him that he needs, you're not playing well, you need to work harder. I don't think that sort of thing works with him. Whereas I think it's the old arm around the shoulder and persevere with him. And he's come up trumps. He's given us a very hot and cold week, hasn't he, Josh?
Yeah, I think it's one of them, like you said at the start. I think it just looked like he had a point to prove, didn't he? Being left on bench. I think it just looked like that you're not going to, it was sort of performance that you put in when you're telling your manager, I'm here and you're not going to leave me on bench on Saturday. Because when he's firing and he's doing like he did there, he's just, well, the Cov fans said, didn't he, that we just heard from, he's a real asset. I mean, when now he's got the ability to, when he's knocking it past a man and putting a ball in box that's not just a dead ball, he's a really dangerous player to have in your team. We just need to try and get that out of him week in, week out, because then you've got a real player on your hands, and it's whether, like you said, Darren Moore can just get it out of him. You know, like you said, when everything that's come out of Chef Wednesday and everywhere else has been, said he's a great man manager. So you wonder if he is the sort of bloke to put his arm around him every week and say, look, you know what I mean, you're my man, you can do this, I'm going to play you, and just get him to a level where he thinks he is the man. That's when I think you probably get the best out of Sorba Thomas, like that season under, like when we got to the playoff final. He was seen as the man, wasn't he? And he sort of thrived off that, and then that's where it's gone a bit Pete Tong for him, really, because he sort of dropped off when he's hit a bit of poor form, and then fans have got on his back, and it's not worked for him. So you just hope we can get the best out of him, get a man who can get him fit and firing.
What do you reckon, Cos? It must be draining, sort of with having a character who's so up and down like that. I suppose for a manager it can be a little bit draining, but when he's good, he's very important, isn't he?
Yeah, I've said it before that for me, I didn't see my town shirt this season. Obviously, the Blackbird thing didn't work out as well. I think I look around. I think we've got a pretty ordinary bunch of players, to be honest with you, Matt. That there's no disrespect, but I'm looking at for match winners, people who can affect a game, people can win a game, and I do like what I'm seeing from Thomas sporadically as well. And yeah, I thought they were really poor, but there were a lot of poor players in that first half against Stoke. So it didn't surprise me that he was on the bench last night. But again, I think it's a really good sign that he comes on with a bit between his teeth rather than soaking up. Obviously, you'd expect that surely with a new manager in there as well. But yeah, it just frustrates me that we've got this love-hate relationship. I don't like it, me, when players, some people just walk. There was a guy next to me in that car last night town. Absolutely, I don't want to repeat what we're saying about him, but some people have just made their mind up on him and that as well for whatever reason. But yeah, I tend to just try and be positive really as well. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Moore gets the best out of him, because surely he's got to get the best out of him, because he's a guy who can win us a game and get some points as we saw last night as well. So yeah, I'm hoping this Renaissance will continue on Saturday. It'll be interesting to see if he gets a start against Ipswich. I can't wait for that game. It's an absolute cracker that, isn't it? On Saturday. They sold their end out, with Moore's first game in the stadium and stuff as well. I think they play some great, exciting football. I think we'll go to I can't wait for Saturday, and I'd like to see Thomas start, but obviously, someone's going to have to make way. But no, it's good to see. But like you said, Matt, he just seems to be not a soap opera, but he's just charade, really, isn't it? Like, it's going to be like this. This is just how he's wired up. He's just different, and that's the skill of management, isn't it? To know your player, get your best out of them, and try and not let him. But I agree with you what you were saying. I think Warnock, we had that loving. Do you remember that video at the start when they were in Cornwall, when it were like torrential rain and Ronnie were pushing him out of the van and what have you and stuff? But he kind of went from that. So I think Warnock wanted to push him out down Leeds Road, down to the bus stop, wasn't he, by the end? So yeah, let's see where Darren Moore can get him.
Speaking of Darren Moore, we've done a Darren Moore podcast, a deep dive into Darren Moore with thoughts from people who've known him, seen him, worked with him. So that's available on our feed, if you like, and YouTube, so you can check that out. So I'm not going to go into too much detail of my opinions on Darren Moore, because I did that on that podcast. I don't really want to go over old ground again. But Kosi, you've not really given your thoughts, have you, on the podcast on the appointment of Darren Moore? I thought it was interesting, Michal Helik's interview at the end on Sky, saying, how the players really love Neil, etc. And there were a couple upset, in tears, if you like, at him leaving. And then they see, but Darren Moore's the kind of character, a big enough character who can, not many people can replace Neil Warnock in terms of character, but Darren Moore's not a bad one, is he, to try and do so?
No, it was a bit of a strange one for me, Matt, because obviously no one really knew anything, and all of a sudden on Thursday morning, really, wasn't it? It's become clear that we're going to be Darren Moore, and my first instinct was like, meh, kind of. But the more and more I thought about it, pardon the pun, I just felt this is what we probably need, to be honest with you as well. But I just think, again, nicking stuff from the other pod and that as well. But I do agree what they were saying. It almost became the Neil Warnock show, didn't it? I think Huddersfield Town, and honestly, the fan base we all love Neil Warnock so much. It's you're still not going to get people agreeing with the decision. I know some people. I think now I'm not going again. They've sacked Warnock and blah blah blah. But yeah, Darren Moore, good record. Unfinished business, really. Point to prove. I don't know about you, but I'm always one of those, when you tune into your football programs, I can't, because we didn't have a game on Saturday. I had the misfortune of hearing Paul Merson talk and Clinton Morrison and people that just turn you off. But when Darren Moore's on as a pundit, I'm engaged with him, mate. I'm listening. I'm thinking this guy talks sense. I get what it's on about. I want to hear what he's got to say. So I'm thinking this is just me as a random fan. Hopefully our players is like thinking the same as well. And I find it interesting as well. Obviously rebuilding the academy. I'm probably touching in a minute about the B team shambles that I saw today. But there's a lot of work to do on that side, which I think more is hopefully going to be about, to involve with it as well. But yeah, I just think where we're at and everything, Matt, I think it's a really good appointment. And like people have said, the more and more each week passes, Sheffield Wednesday's decision to part company looks a shocker with him as well. But yeah, no, I do. I think it's one of those. I don't think you're doing a knee slide, but I don't think you're mad. But I honestly think that if it had been following anyone else, but Neil Warnock, most people would have been buzzing. If that ever happened in the summer, would have been buzzing. Well, buzzing's not buzzing, but like really happy. But because he's followed Warnock and on the back of 2 wins and a draw, I think it's a bit of an issue for some. And that's why I'm so glad we got that late equaliser last night, because even at that stage, it's like, oh, we've lost and that wouldn't have happened under Warnock. And then we've got a tough game against Ipswich. So, no, mate, as ever, they've got even bothering. And when we've had Chris Powell and whoever, I've always backed them from the start, and they always will do. That's kind of my DNA. But I can't understand some of this, not hatred, but I get people had Warnock favourites, but he's just a bit disappointed. Like the king is gone, long live the king, but let's move on. But some people won't, and we're never going to last the Warnock thing, and I think it's just come earlier than everyone thought. I think time will be a healer on that, but honestly, it's nothing. It's a great win against Ipswich won't change, I don't think, on Saturday. It just needs something like that, I think, to get everyone on board, because I'm on board, most are on board, but I think something like that on Saturday, a big win against a team who are flying and in the stadium and the stadium rocking, I think, everyone will be up for it then.
What about you, Josh?
A bit underwhelmed at first, to be honest. I think it were more to do with probably the timing of it. I think because if it had happened at the end of the season, say if Warnock had left, which I mean, I'll openly say I didn't really want Warnock to come back. I wanted him to ride off into the sunset and have it done. That I think if we'd have got someone like Darren Moore in, then I think it'd have been a bit more like, okay, yeah, I can see why, you know what I mean. But I think with everything that were coming out of the club and the press conferences and this 3-year plan that's been thrown about now of getting back to top flight, I think when it sort of just builds up expectation, doesn't it? So when Warnock left, everyone's sort of thinking, well, who are they going to get now that's really going to kick it on? And then when it sort of comes out as Darren Moore, you're a bit like, oh, all right, okay. Well, I don't see why. But
it didn't quite match.
He's here now, isn't he?
So
you've got to. He didn't match the expectation that I think as the fan base we probably built up what we were maybe going to get. But now he's here. We've got to get behind him, haven't we? Really, and see how he goes.
Right, we'll take a couple of questions from you online. There's one or two that have come through, and then Kosi went to watch the bees today, so he's going to give us the talk on the birds and the bees. Right, so the first one is Phil Peck says, who would be Moore's preferred option up top until January? I think Moore kind of plays a 3-5-2, doesn't he? I still think Danny Ward gets picked when he's fit, or if he's fit. But he has to be fit. I don't think he has been all season. I think Danny Ward probably as your 9, and then you're looking to play Bergzorg or Kean Harrett off of him, I would imagine. But I think they'll play 2 up there, and I don't think. I think sometimes it'll be maybe Bergzorg and Harrett. I just think sometimes you need one that's going to go in the box and one that's happy to go out. And we had 2 that were too happy to be out of the box on Monday night. So I think probably something like that combination. Kosi, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't rule Hudling out of it, Matt. I think maybe I might be overreacting a little bit to the goal and 10 minutes of play last night. But I think there's always one when a new manager comes in who you just don't think it's anywhere near. I mean, Warnock obviously brought some people back from the dead, as he calls it. Josh Ruffles kind of was one, Karoma another, and stuff. I don't know what we're doing, but less said about that the better. But yeah, it's a big ask for a kind of a novice striker in the EFL to lead the line. But yeah, I think that's quite interesting. I don't think we're definitely short a striker. I think last night proved all that. But to get there, yeah, I don't think there's a big favourite out there, because I think most of them, much of them, they've all got their different kind of skills. But it's if I'm a striker or one of those, Kean Harrett, obviously Ward, he sounds like he's a bit off fitness and stuff like that as well. I think there's a battle royal on for your 2 spots or 1 spot, depending on what formation he plays. But yeah, no, I'm part of the Kyle Hudley fan club now, mate. Just love what he brings. I love his, just his.
I think 10 minutes of chaos is good for Hudlin. I think any longer, and I think people probably work him out, maybe. But what about you, Josh? What are you going with?
I think it'll probably be Ward, just because of lack of options, really. But I don't think he's a shoe-in to start. I think now sort of Warnock's gone where you probably knew Danny Ward were going to start every game if he's fit. I don't think that's probably the case anymore. I think it might be on a bit more of a game-and-game basis. Because, a lot of Harrott's come in, he's done okay, to be fair. He's worked hard, he's shown in some games that he can hold his own, especially I think with Rotherham when he were partnered with Bergzorg, they looked pretty decent in that game. So I think Ward, when he's fit, will probably be his first choice, but I don't think he'll be nailed on week in, week out. Yeah, if he's fit.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Chris Green says, "Do you fear Ipswich Town? They're flying high, and all credit for them by taking the league by storm. No team is completely invisible. With home advantage, we could manage a draw." I mean, I look at that Ipswich team, and I just think there's no one there that frightens me in the team. They're just an incredibly well put together unit, aren't they, in terms of how they play together, and they're quite unique, I suppose, in some of the football that they play. The managers, McKenna's done an incredible job, really. But I'm looking at a midfield with like Sam Morsey in it, Taylor. They've got Luango came off the bench, I think, when I had a look, and there's players there that have kind of dropped from the Championship to League One and just been, do you know what I mean? And George Hurst up front and things like that, and you just think, I mean, if it wasn't for the manager, would they be as good as it? I think all credit goes to the head manager / head coach at Ipswich. He's done an incredible job. Hasn't played an incredible brand of football. I'm using Cozzy's buzzword of incredible there, but he's just. I think everything sort of points to the head coach being really good. I think someone else comes in there, and I don't think those players are. Maybe it's like a Warnock thing. Maybe those players are half as good, and I think because of that, you can catch them on days where they won't be fully at it. So I'm fully expecting them to tonk us 4-0. Now I've said that with Sam Morsey getting a hat trick. But
they seem to win either 3-2 or 4-3, don't they? They seem to score a load of goals, but concede a load as well. So
yeah, I think that's the football they play. They very, very much play out from the back. A lot of movement. I mean, I think we can get into them and beat them, to be honest. But I also think they could paste us. It could go either way. But I'm not scared of them.
It's a game to be excited about. Kind of Chris is there. I don't go with any fear. I just like most people will think they're going to beat us. They've sold out their end for like 2 weeks ago, so they're there. Can't wait to get back up. Obviously, Freddie Ladapo, Matt, one of our old friends from the
again another one who were gashing Championship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, definitely. But I just think it's a cracking game to have. I really do. I think, yeah, they'll come to win. They've won 6 out of 7. They'll come to win number 7. And what have we got to offer? What are we going to throw back? I think there'll be a big crowd in there. I can't wait, mate, for Saturday.
Yeah, it should be a good one. And then Chris says he's thinking a Darren Moore Q&A, one in person, should happen one day. Chance for some fans to ask him some questions. Yeah, I'm sure we could do it if the club had let us. I'm sure down at Magic Rock. I'm sure it'd be a great event, wouldn't it? But yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for questions online, and we will finish today with Mr. Kosmala. Donned his flat cap, took his imaginary dog for a walk, and went down to Canalside, didn't you? And took in the bees.
Yeah, I get a random day up in the week, me, and a lot of times it seems to be Tuesday when we have the game, the summer champ. I thought I'll have a wander down Canalside, have a look at that beautiful mural before the gates open, your car goes in. But yeah, a bit concerned, I'll be honest with you, our academy. I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but at the time of writing, what is it, 9:06? There's no match report, amazingly. That's because we got absolutely battered 6-2. But it's a concern, really. I mean, Tom Pender looked absolutely sensational. He scored a fantastic goal. He created the other goal. He bulked up. I loved what I saw of him last year in the Youth Cup. He looks the player, mate. He looks like the next cab off the rank. But after that, I'm proper struggling with anything. And it were interesting seeing David Weatherall there cut a bit of a figure on the sidelines. Obviously, the man to shake everything up, to bring in the other age groups and to make the academy good again. But it's maybe I might be overreacting on one, a couple of snapshot games. But I don't know, Matt. These off the field played, but didn't really do much. Sheffield Wednesday, I suppose they had a lot of players that look good, but I suppose B team football and first team football, it is quite a step up. But I don't know. Do you share my concern, Matt? I just think there's so much work to do. I don't think there's much knocking about, mate. Now and
I went into this. I'm going to let Josh go because I went into this a couple of weeks ago, didn't I, on the podcast, and I was probably not very kind to the previous chairman, who I generally am quite kind to, but in terms of the academy, no. Absolutely nothing they said they would do when it was closed has been followed through and done properly.
Sorry, just another thing that I thought about. Sorry, today there were people rowing with each other, and I get we're getting absolutely battered, but there were people. Obviously, you can hear it as plain as day when it's
players, don't you? Yeah, players rowing.
Yeah, people proper having a go at each other. It were pretty embarrassing to hear, but was it the pain of getting turned over by 6 and stuff? But I don't know. I just drove out of there thinking it's not in a good place, our academy, and obviously probably the people in charge would agree with me if they were on here as well. And there's so much work to do. Doesn't like there's much happening there for me.
No, Josh.
I sort of agree with what you said. Really, it's just it was sold on like a bit of a Brentford B model on it, and we hadn't really sort of followed that route. To be honest, it's a bit sort of wishy-washy with what we've done. I think that B team, you've probably lost 3 players out of there who were probably key players for him, in like Kamara, Diarra, and Harrott, who'd normally all would have been there last season when they were doing well, and it's hard to replace them really when we're sort of picking lads up from who've just been released from sort of lower down clubs or playing in sort of London XYZ academy and things like that. You're bringing them in at 16, 17-year-old and trying to, when they've had no real proper academy background, I'd imagine. You're trying to get them up to speed. So there's a few in there, but they get released sort of thing, and then you're trying to coach them up to a certain standard against lads who have probably been in academy since sort of 8 or 9. It's quite hard work. So hopefully, when we do set the academy up, we can. It'll take time. They take time, don't they? It's not a guaranteed success, and you're not going to get success in first couple of years of setting up an academy, which is probably why it's a bit of a shame that we closed it when we did. When players that have come through it, like your O'Briens and stuff, we made £10 million of all came through the academy, even though we'd scrapped it when he actually got to first team level. They'd come all the way through, hadn't they?
Yeah.
How much does it cost to set up in the format that we want compared to what it costs now and that as well? Because I was thinking today, God, they've got to pay all these players, food and accommodation, all this carry on. What are we talking? A few million? What?
Yeah, or not? A couple of million to run to academy.
I think from memory it was like around 1.34 million a year for running a Cat 2 academy back in 2017. But you get a lot of funding for it as well. So it's not like the club has to find that. You do get quite a lot of grants and funding that comes in to cover quite a lot of that. It is expensive, but I think if it's done properly, it's worthwhile. Town look like they're maybe, I don't know what they're going to go for. I don't think they've announced what stage they're going to go for, but if they go for category 3, that's cheaper.
I think they said category 3, haven't they? I think they said category 3.
I thought they had. I can't remember if it's said that officially, but yeah, I think category 3 they'll go for and then maybe build up. But for me, I'm very much do it or don't bother when it comes to the academy. Do it properly or don't do it at all. And that you can't half-ass an academy. You've got to do it properly. And it's just one of those things. You either commit to it fully or you don't do it at all. And Town just haven't really done anything in the last couple of years. It's been, they haven't really brought anybody in that they said they would. In terms of financial, I know Town financially haven't been the best off, but it just seems to have been fallen by the wayside. But it's I'm sure there are some good players like you mentioned, Cos. We've sold Kamara, didn't we? For a couple of million. With Tommy Openda's coming through, looks decent. He was released by Brighton, so he's been in an academy for quite a while. And there are a couple of good players there, and I know they don't focus solely on results, and they do look for different in-game challenges, and they're looking to move individuals through rather than teams, so the result doesn't matter. So I suppose for fans, it's very difficult, isn't it, seeing a team lose 6-2, but the focus could be completely different. For the coaches, it could be completely on getting certain players to do certain things in certain areas, and they don't care if they mess it up 3 times and we concede 3 goals. It's trying to drill certain things into players. So it's difficult as a fan looking in to understand it when it's a results business, but they do try and do things very differently. But I still don't think there's anything that they've done which couldn't have been done on the old system, really. The bit I like the most is sending people out on loan more often. In the job, they what do they call it? They call it work experience, don't they? So they kind of incrementally move them up year on year, and I do think that's worked. Would we have been able to do that under the old system? Probably not, because you used to have a regular run of under 21 games or under 23, as it turned out. So you had to have enough players to cover your under 23 games weekly, rather than being able to set your own B teams up and send players out on loan at certain points. So I do get a lot of the theory behind it. It's just not really working at the minute, and I do prefer the older system. But I do think you either go big or go home with an academy, because that's the only way to get parents and kids in, is if you have a great academy. If it's okay, then they'll pick someone else, and you'll miss out on players. So, but it's a challenge for them, and there's some good people down there. John Worthington's great down there, and there's a lot of good people. David Weatherall, I think, is a great appointment as well. So, I do think they'll turn it around. I think there's, like I say, there's definitely some good people, but as soon as they start to put some focus into it, I'm sure it'll go in the right direction. But it's not quite really gone to plan as the B model. But I suppose you have to be realistic and say, when they set this up, they were in the Premier League, and there was no sanctions on being able to bring players in from abroad either. So Brentford were bringing in Danish players left, right, centre, weren't they? And we thought, and we've gone to a little part of France and got players from France. We got Diarra, Aina. We even got a Dutch right back. Was it Pato, the right back, who didn't quite work out? And so we've done it. Just that when that door closed, that just made the current system. It was not untenable. That's not the right word, but it just when the door closed, it just shut the whole idea down, really. And unless you can afford to go out and pay British prices for British players, like we did with Pat Jones initially, then the prices are a bit higher, aren't they? Although locked in EPPP, but if that player then ends up in your first team, then you can, and you're buying him from a Category 1 team, you can end up paying 1.5 million quid. And why don't you just go buy a ready-made player for that? You know what I mean? So it's difficult, and there's a lot that you've got to weigh up when navigating EPPP. There's a lot more that I could go into, which will bore the absolute pants off everybody that's listening, and I won't bother. But it's interesting that they've gone down that route. That's all.
Totally left field and wanting an agenda, but Pat Jones, I was looking at him last night off the bench. Where's he kind of at with everything at the moment? Does he need a loan out or whatever? It's
hamstrings, isn't it?
It's a concern to me. Like, where are we going to see him? What's he going to be doing?
They've got to manage him. They've got to manage him, haven't they? He does have issues around. I can't remember if he's got some hamstring issues. He got injured on Welsh international duty last year when he had a little niggle, and it took him a long time to come back from it. And it seems to be one of those young players who's got the growing pains, doesn't he? Who kind of through the ages of 16 to 21 just keeps getting injured, and his body seems to be struggling with a lot of things. And he'll come through it. Just hopefully he still has that pace. But yeah, I think at the minute they're having to manage his minutes quite a lot and manage his training levels. But I think under Darren Moore, I think we'll take a look at that. He's from what I hear, he's very good at managing things like that and setting up, professional training regime, and he should be able to hopefully bring him on, and that's the idea, isn't it? And there's a couple more in there that you can hopefully we can see in the future. But this is the thing with academy football. What is it, Josh? It's something like 1 in something 1,000 kids make it through the system in the end, don't they? It's a real difficult. It's really difficult to get kids through an academy. There's so much can happen. The way they grow, incidents, their off-field behaviour, and there's so many wild cards that can happen with kids football. And so I can really understand why someone would go, do you know what? We'll just bring them in at 17, 18 when they're almost finished and cut out the money we'd have spent on coaches and meals and kit and all that sort of stuff from age of 6, because it starts at 6, 6 to 16, and just start then with players that have got ability, and that will save us X amount. But there just wasn't enough decent recruitment, in my opinion, at 16 to make this whole B team thing viable. There's some bits, some great bits, but not enough of it really. And I think that's all I've really got to say on the academy. I don't think there's anything really coming in online. Ryan Windle says he was there last night. Great point in the end. Good on you, Ryan, for getting down there as well to the arena. But that's it. That's all I've got this week. Quasimodo, you got anything that you want to bring up?
No, the games are just coming thick and fast. Out of Birmingham next Tuesday as well, and then Sheffield Wednesday are more back. So just exciting times, isn't there? I think it's one of those. I think he'd probably prefer just like one game and a bit of time on the training ground, but I'm afraid it's the Championship, mate. And good job we're not in Cup. I've got to say it, Carabao Cup, innit? We're never in past any other rounds, but yeah, it's
Speaking of which, Ipswich are 3-2 up against Wolves, and Freddie Laudapo scored despite
2-0. They were 2-0 down, I think, as well.
They were, now 3-2 up. So with 20 minutes left, so there's enough time for that to end up 5-4 or 4-3 and all. So
a couple of kicks and stuff like that.
What do you think we talk about tonight? 77 minutes later, we're still going.
No. Right, so that's it. Thanks to everybody for joining us online. Thanks to Magic Rock for sponsoring us. Thanks, Josh, for making one in. I'm sure it won't be as long next time you're on the pod as well. And I'm not going to play out Stan. I think that was mentioned in the chat. Any M&M for the finish. We're not going to play that out. We're going to stick with the original. But thanks, everyone, and we'll catch you next week.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town. And the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.